Hey everybody, welcome to another Age of Grogu, and I got with me today Ronan Unchained, I've got Julie, and I've got Emmanuel, and tonight we are going to be discussing episode 8 of The Acolyte, the season finale. Um, Guys, give us your thoughts. What's out there? What were you thinking?
Want to go first?
Um, damn, that's what I
Yeah?
felt. I was like,
Uh-huh.
damn, and it wasn't. Uh, I was like, damn. Thankfully, it was the longest episode of the season. I hope if season two comes along, there's longer episodes like this one. And yeah, there was. I'm still kind of in denial over a scene that we'll talk about later that
Uh-huh.
occurred because was I was in denial, but it was a unique experience this one, and
Hmm.
yeah, I'm glad with what the material is that it got the 49-minute mark.
Yeah. Julie?
Yeah, there was a bunch of cool things, a bunch of unexpected things to see
Yep.
in live action. Overall, I enjoyed it. I think it was a pretty good finale of the finales you've been getting.
Yep. Manuel?
I the whole show to me, I like the show in general.
Yep.
Episode 5 was for sure my favorite.
Right.
I feel like the finale was something. I feel like it should have. I mean, I feel like they left it open, a lot of plot points open for season 2 if
Sure.
they get it. But I feel like they kind of should have wrapped things up a little bit better.
Okay.
Just in case there's no season 2.
Fair enough.
Um,
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
but we'll see. But I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool for sure. And then we'll talk
Yeah.
about later what you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll break down things later.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it a lot. I wouldn't say it was my favorite episode. I think there's definitely some things in there, motives, little motives here and there that didn't quite necessarily work properly all the way through.
Mhm.
I'm still trying to figure out Basil's motive for ripping out the wires in the ship and in turn crashing Soul's ship. It was just a weird thing. It was like, did we need the? Oh, hang on a sec, guys. We've got Angelo. Angelo, how's it going, buddy?
Fresh
We are
cut,
live.
fresh
We are live.
cut.
Sorry, I was a little late.
There you
Yeah,
go. Yeah,
don't got the throw anymore.
That's what I'm
sweet.
talking about. We're looking good, bro. Look good, bro.
Sweet, yeah. So yeah, Angelo, we are live right now. So we're just
Okay.
discussing what our thoughts were with the episode itself. But yeah, I liked it. I thought there was some things I would. I think it's more about just some of the pacing and a couple of things that were a little weird here and there. But for the most part, I really enjoyed what we got to see. Angelo, what were your thoughts on the episode 8?
I mean, yeah, it was a great episode. I really enjoyed especially some of the cameos and stuff that we got. Some like the
Sure.
choreography was obviously like it
Oh,
was
so
the
good.
best. Yeah, the
Yeah.
fight scenes were amazing.
Yeah.
Also, it was a little bit predictable. Towards like around like episode 2 or 3, you kind of
Right.
he's like okay, yeah, it ended in the way
Mhm.
everyone thought it would end, but
Yeah.
it was still
Well,
really good. I enjoyed it.
I mean, we can jump all over the place, but
Yeah,
I was surprised when OSHA said no. She wasn't right at the beginning. She
in the
wasn't.
beginning, yeah.
She didn't want to follow in May's footsteps and wanted to kind of leave. I thought, wow, I did not expect that. And actually, my brain was ticking, going, I feel like there's a good chance that she is going to continue being, on the side of the Jedi and stuff. And that made it more impactful for me for the end when she had that moment and that change in that process. So, hey, we got Daniel on the chat. He can't be with us right now. He doesn't got his laptop. So, yeah, Daniel, your thoughts. You were hoping hoping for season 2,
Yeah.
so that these threads don't go on. I agree. I think we all agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I wasn't really for me, I felt like I was at peace not wanting a season 2 or wanting a season 2, but after that finale, I
Right.
found myself leaning towards the I want a season 2 end because
Uh huh.
they set up a lot of good storylines to
Oh
kind
yeah.
of pursue for that second season.
No, absolutely. And there's definitely some choice. We'll definitely go into what our thoughts about what a season 2 would be all about a bit later. Let's start just from the beginning here. We did get this moment at the beginning where OSHA ends up by kind of almost suffocating inside the helmet, um, and and even had this moment of Chimera kind of being almost like witch possessed, which I thought was a really kind of cool moment. Surprised the heck out of me of that kind of power, which is kind of showing the power of both what OSHA does have suppressed, and how that kind of was turning in. What were your thoughts on this whole opening sequence, guys?
It also definitely shows like Kimir's power too, because like he was able to
They'll fight
resist it, and he's able
Point.
to take off the helmet because
And
Yes.
Torben,
Yeah, that's the
Torben
thing,
got
like,
Torben got
he instantly
Yeah,
pulled
yeah,
it with
Torben
it, yeah.
got his ass kicked with that. Yeah,
yeah.
totally.
I
Send the
wonder-
kill not too.
I wonder what he was seeing though, because I don't know if you could see go when he was. It was like the room was changing, and
It got dark.
Yeah, so I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder what he was seeing. I think was he seeing the future? No, because she's seen the future. But
Yeah.
She was seeing-
I
she was seeing
wonder
the
what he
future.
was seeing. I wonder what he was seeing.
Maybe
Yeah,
something from
that's a
his
good
past.
point. Actually, I hadn't even thought about that.
Kind of like probably what
Oh.
like Torben saw, because like it just went dark, everyone think like disappeared for him, and then like
Yeah,
no
but
one saw her the mother in there.
I don't think Oshun could. I mean, Oshun. That's my niece's name. I don't think Osha could control it like her mom can. So I wonder
No.
if she was just doing that out of pure, I guess, just
Instinct, yeah, instinct.
talent.
Yeah.
But I
I
wonder.
thought
If,
it was- sorry, I
Julie.
thought it was interesting that she could do that in the first place, because I was under the impression that because she hadn't gone through the ascension or whatever, that she didn't have access to that kind of power. Just
Yeah.
the force, obviously. But
But
so
I-
it was interesting.
one thing I do like about that, because it kind of brings in real life, because I don't know if you guys it's kind of like have you guys ever heard of what's the thing called it's when you sit in a tub and you're just floating in the tub, and if you're floating
Deprivation, yeah, deprivation,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Deprivation
it,
chambers.
it
Oh,
dulls
yeah.
all it amplifies your senses. So that helmet kind of was that
Deprivation.
for her, that made her ability in the force or her power in general stronger.
Right.
I like that aspect.
Yeah,
of what
good
they
point.
did on that. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
sensory deprivation. That's
Yeah.
what it was.
It's something I'd like to see them explore in the future about the the Cortosian metal and the helmet concept and all that too.
I feel like it's
I
something
mean, we
would've
kind of
liked
seen
to
that concept
see.
before too, like with the helmets and stuff. Like when like they lower the blast shield so they can't see, it's kind of same thing.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like I would have loved to have seen this mid-season, or at least her sensing
Yeah.
a connection to the Force, because even when she tried, it wasn't going through all the way. And
Right.
I think the only time it did connect was when the
Right.
bugs got there
Mhm.
closer. I'm like, all right, cool.
Mhm.
Lean into it more and whatnot.
Yeah.
100%. Oh yeah, Daniel. That's exactly.
Yeah. Like
You-
11. Yeah.
you guys already know that me. I mean, I'm jumping back and forth, but you already know
Oh,
me.
sure.
I had a gripe with OSHA in the beginning because I feel like she didn't do anything. So,
Yeah.
but I
Mhm.
feel like she should have, just like what Ronan said. I feel like she should have came to this conclusion in the middle. So like, because you have to have like, she was just too OP in this episode, in my
You
opinion.
try to make
Yeah.
it feel important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
makes-
feel like
makes
it's
sense.
been May doing everything.
I was rooting more for May this whole season instead
Yeah.
of OSHA, the main protagonist.
Yeah.
So that's for me.
Yeah, there were things towards the end of this episode, specifically around May and the circumstances she was left under, that didn't quite work for me.
Same.
I feel like they were trying to speed things up to get to a point to solve a problem by using a MacGuffin of a memory wipe from her, which was like
felt like a cheat
it
code.
was a cheap way out. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was
A cheat code. It was just like,
cheat
wait.
code. Yeah,
Boom. All right, we clear of this
Yeah.
engagement with NPCs or protagonist or
Yeah.
antagonists and whatnot.
yeah,
And it's weird because, and if you hear me before, Soul and Jake have been my favorite characters
right.
throughout the whole series. I like seeing where Osha and May were experiencing, but I wasn't connecting with them the way I did with those two characters.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so
yeah.
by the time this plays out, it's like,
yeah,
well, I know you're trying to make me feel something,
yeah.
Being out.
but I'm
yeah.
not there all the way.
But I'm not there.
because
Yeah,
of the pacing and how, like,
Mhm.
okay, it took 8 weeks to finally have a revelation of something a lot of other people predicted easily,
yeah,
Mhm.
and how, subtlety goes a long way, and how much you reveal goes a long way,
yeah.
Mhm.
and how maybe the knowledge of there being twins that early on dismissed this a little bit, because I'm like, okay, what if at the halfway point
yeah.
we realize A, what Saul did, and B, that Osha had a twin sister and that she was
Right.
still alive, and it's like now deal with the repercussions. Like, all right, Saul had his hands dirty.
Yeah.
Now, what happens next? Do we also have to be thoughtful with this danger that's looming, and also can we do some good out of it of bringing this kid back from the depths of death? And
Sure.
yeah, that scene, I wasn't going, F this show and whatnot. I was just like, oh, we're doing this?
Yeah.
Cool. Cheat code, I guess. And how, I don't know, it just felt funky. And what it wanted me to feel, I didn't connect with it all the way.
Right.
Yeah, it was too much, I think, for her to find out and then react and then turn all in one episode. I think I agree with Ronan. Had that been mid-season and then we kind of had more of a resolution, maybe two more episodes, would have carried out a lot better. And also, too, with the whole memory wipe thing, I totally understand now where Leslie's coming in with that whole Frozen reference, because that's what happened to Anna when also used her.
Yeah. No, yeah, that definitely, I agree there. Yeah, I mean, I felt like this should have been more of an emotional moment than it was not for me as well. Just the fact that the two sisters were separated. They needed a better way of separating them than just a memory white and setting one off.
In my opinion, what I was hoping what happened, because they're actually one person. I was hoping Osha actually killed her, stabbed her with the lightsaber, and then they become one essence again. And then she, instead of her, that would have been more. I would have been like, holy crap! Like that would have been more emotional for me. Like she kind of did like a Han Solo Kylo Ren type stab. And just, and then they become one. That would have been dope in my opinion.
And what's weird is that you bring that concept or that idea, and it listen, I like this show, though now I can see it clearly has a lot of issues that are valid criticism. And that Bring Me White fan normally feels kind of cheap.
Yeah.
Again, if it's earned, if it feels earned,
right,
you go with it and you feel bad a little bit of the way.
Right.
But when and what's weird with this one is that you kind of now with that sequence, that scene, it felt like they were writing with the expectation of a season 2 to work that off. And I don't work in Hollywood. I'm not a writer there, but as someone who's seen a lot of TV shows and all the movies, there's something rich about a show that might get a season 2, but if it lays down all its chips in one season and it has a cool bookend, they'd be like, all right, I was satisfied with this one season. What a great 8 weeks of storytelling. I hope we can come back and not just be like, oh, now I gotta stay with it to realize the full thing of it, because and again, I'm not trying to measure this between shows, but a good example of the newest live action shows of Star Wars is that I remember when Mando season 1 ended, I was like, what a great bookend. It was a great bookend of like, this guy didn't become selfless and he went all the depths and he had some learning. He learned to not be judgmental on all droids. He learned that about this kid and seeing how much this kid represented him when he was a child.
And actually care about him because
someone gave him a shot and whatnot. And then you could leave that one last scene, ... Darksaber, Moff Gideon. This one, ... Even with the Yoda, even with that scene at the end, I was just like, I don't know how the repercussions feel about this all the way. It was, whoa, cool, makes sense. But how does this play out in the larger sense?
I feel like we want to be in the room for that conversation, but we may not get the chance to be in the room if there isn't a season 2. Because I feel like for the things that didn't work in the show in general, and I'm trying to focus this more on episode 8 right now, but there was also a lot of stuff that really did work, and there was some stuff that was quite wonderfully done too.
The fight, dude! I yelled kung fu when they were floating in the air.
That's
right. Awesome. I was like, I know that vibe. I know, and man, like that's something. If we get a season 2, stay with this choreography, stay with this vibe of the action, because we need more of it, and we need it just as strong, if not better.
The lightsaber fighting in this show is amazing. Kimir and just the actor Manny and Soul.
Okay, so let's talk about these fight sequences here for a little bit. We got I think some of the coolest between editing and fight sequencing and wire work.
Yeah, that's shot.
We got some incredible this stuff here with the wire work when they came floating down. There's people online that were saying it looked weird, it looked fake. It's like, my God, it felt so good to see that kind of wire work used in Star Wars, especially when it comes to the lightsaber fight.
Yeah.
It should be ballet in the air as they are fighting, much like a film like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, that kind of thing. It adds that fanciful element to the Jedi, that they are slightly able to manipulate the Force around them and have that, I won't say airbending kind of quality, but there is that hint towards that, and I think it looked gorgeous.
And it speaks to this era. Like, it's like, all right, this era is more this way. You have the prequels, you have the originals, you have the sequels, and it's like it has its own vibe with this era. And I'm like, cool, that's the style for this era.
Yeah.
Let's keep it that way or elevate it as much as we can. The feet kicking in.
The feed kick, that was so
was
good.
Yeah.
Nice edit.
The shot of back of Saul with them floating in the alleyway. I'm like, someone rewatch Revenge of the Sith for this shot right now, and I'm like,
even the above shot when they're looking down and Chimera throws the two sabers and they spin and then you see it come. You get to see
fire. He was like,
I think
that's
cool
like
thing
almost straight out of like the Jedi games right there. I was like, that's so awesome.
The beautiful thing about, I think, the fighting in this show is that you really do get to see the fighting itself. And that is credit to the photographer, the cinematographer. It's credit to the stunt people, and the ability of saying, let's slow motion down this part without it being obtrusive. And there was some slow-mo moments, but I think they were done so well. They fit perfectly with the movement and the action and the camera movement. And I think I even said this right back from the first episode, even when we saw it in the theater, when we saw the screening of it for the group of us that got the chance to see it. Just the stuff with Carrie-Anne Moss at the beginning there, you had this great camera movement that was in coordination with the actual choreography. And it's probably some of the best I think we've ever seen.
Yeah.
it's up there.
Totally. Also, the other thing in the corridor stuff, we got some great close fighting techniques and fighting sequences here, which I thought were also fantastic. It's reminiscent of Vader being in the corridor. It's reminiscent of the hallway. It's reminiscent of The Empire Strikes Back with Luke and Vader fighting in Cloud City at the end there with the tight corridors. And I think the confined spaces work really well, and I thought there was some very beautiful shots and incredible production design as well.
I
really like how when they're fighting and they're slicing through like the stuff like the outer walls, and you can see it cutting through the walls.
Oh yeah,
it was amazing.
Bro, if they come up with season 2, bro, I'm gonna need more Chimera, bro. Chimera is like every scene that he was in, I just like perched up and was just like, yo, he's like, man. They need a novel of him or one shot. They need something.
He held the show. He and Soul
in the second half.
Held the show so much for me as characters, and they actually are. They're sun and moon. They're opposites of each other as well, which I found very interesting to watch. We were watching two very different perspectives of the same skill level and the same intensity, and I thought that was great.
You know what I thought was great when Vanessa touched Bland and he was like, she was like, he's like, oh shit. He put out his shit.
I absolutely love that moment. Yeah, go for it.
I thought you were dead, and then he instantly also recognized her and is like putting on the helmet so she can't sense me.
Yeah. I mean, it also says a lot to the character. And again, this is where writing is done really well. The writing is done well in this particular scene because, obviously we got the hint. We all kind of assumed that Chimera was her Padawan apprentice, whatever, and something bad happened. But at the same time, the look on Manny's face when he's like, I've just fucked up. I've taken off my helmet, I knew who was coming. And because she said, she said to Soul, they're not coming for me, they're coming for you. And he knew that was where that was going, which means that he let down his guard. And it's the first time I think that character let his guard down in the entire show, to that point of exposing himself that he exists.
I think it's because that was.
I think
Osha played a big part of it. He's all in on Osha. So I feel like if anybody was to make him drop his guard, him trying to seduce her to the dark side more.
Sure.
Kind of like how you said they're both like the opposites. Like Soul and him are both like have like that connection to her. They're both trying to like sway her to his side. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. What else have we got? I'm gonna jump back. Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I'm going to jump back a little bit. Let's talk about some of the visual effects in this episode. We got to see kind of like our first real space dogfight kind of moment, which I personally loved. I thought there was some great stuff going on there.
That looked good.
Yeah,
it looked
the ring was really
Sorry?
detailed. It looked really clean. The ring,
yeah.
It was just the green, the glistening. It looked good. And something about the lighting made it feel so good as well. Like, it was dark, but it was still very visible.
Ronan, you have to get going pretty soon, correct?
Yeah, unfortunately, something came up right now that I gotta take care of. It's a hectic schedule on.
Okay.
But yeah, design-wise, with that asteroid field thing, looked awesome. Basil, I took it. He didn't want to shoot. He thought that Soul was going to shoot May's ship down, so he tore it apart. Either way, I was like, okay, cool. It's the plot. We got to keep going. But yeah, I think that this episode, I dug 70% of it. I think the show had the bones for me to be greater than how I took out of it. And yet, I love the minutia. I love that that decided to play with the minutia. And how for most of the time it didn't mess with the overall thing. It kind of stepped in its way. If season 2 occurs, I hope there's opportunities for improvement. Lee Jong-jae, we do not deserve his performance.
It was so good.
I think we were spoiled with what he gave us. And when y'all get to it, I can't wait to see y'all's takes on the scene. But I'm gonna say this.
Yeah.
I lost my shit when the fingers popped up on that cave, and I was.
We haven't even got there yet. Yeah.
I'll show you the clip later on of me and my friends just being in denial. But Emmanuel and Jello, Julie, always it was a nice pleasure to see you again.
Yes, sir, Ronan.
And guys, Ronan, we can catch you on Ronan Unchained.
Yeah, on my channel, I got a lot of crazy coverage coming down the next week. Brent, I'll bug you later.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Good to see you again.
All right,
catch you later.
Everyone,
first be with you too, bro.
Cool. We'll keep on going, guys. Yeah. But yeah, just going back to that asteroid chase. There was Go for it.
No, I was agreeing with you.
I mean, thoughts are. I mean, visually it was a beautiful piece. I thought visually they did some incredible visual effects for it, and we've seen a lot of great locations and some great background plate stuff and everything like that. But Star Wars wouldn't be Star Wars without some sort of a space chase of some sort.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's funny. A lot of people don't even know that that rings is like literally just full of rocks. So
totally.
It's funny.
Oh yeah. Well, you saw like Soul's shit was just getting.
He said,
it was getting beaten up.
Yeah.
Forget it.
That would happen. Yeah.
I'm going in there.
Yeah. But going back to what we said earlier, there was that moment where Soul does do a target lock, and I don't know whether he was planning on shooting her down or whether he was doing something.
Tracker?
Yeah, is that what it was? I just don't get Basil's moment of the wires, and
I was a little confused. It's like, why? Like he was literally fighting her last episode. He was
hello, Kay.
What's up, Kay?
Last episode, he was literally just beefing with her, and then this episode, he's like,
it was out of left. But I started thinking about it afterwards, and I don't understand what the purpose was. And I thought, well, maybe Leslie was trying to do something with this character that made us feel like what it's like to not have an interpreter like you'd been around to actually explain it. It's very weak. It's a weak thing, but
Yeah,
I just
wasn't a
didn't
fan.
understand Basil's
Motives.
motives
Yeah.
after they found May back on the planet,
Yeah.
which was like episode 5, wasn't it? So I just feel like that character, apart from being there, they had to do something with him.
Maybe it was.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
he had
good point.
heard-
Sorry.
Maybe he knew it was Darkseid.
Yeah, Ducks. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe.
I
But
would
then-
think he heard,
Yeah.
maybe he overheard the conversation of May, what May and Soul were having. He was like, "Oh, Soul did a bad thing," like.
Yeah.
But it was still kind of weird.
It was definitely left field, and it was very like. I mean, they needed a reason why they both ended up on the planet, but
Yeah.
it was. But they both were going to the planet anyway, so to crash land May's ship, which looked like a great little crash land, the skidding, the sound effects too were great on that because it's like it didn't have this loud bash. It was just like this.
Yeah.
That's
And I
true.
don't think that
Skipping, yeah.
had a hyperdrive anyway, so she would have
Yeah.
had to have ended up on that planet because those things don't have hyperdrive.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was a very loose thread, and there wasn't enough established with. So I feel like that was one of the flaws with the show in general. There's not enough establishment on certain things,
And it's
And-
all episode
but-
runtime, man. I
Yeah,
think that
that's
plays
it.
a big. If
Yeah.
they had longer runtimes, like if each episode
Just a
was like
couple
an hour,
of minutes to develop a few things with
Yeah.
characters
Yeah.
or something plot related. I feel like that could have helped it. A bit of polishing, I think, is what
Yeah,
was
if
needed
we had-
in areas, not all.
For
But
1 hour, like I
yeah,
Yeah.
if we had Game
Yeah.
of Thrones
Yeah.
length episodes, an hour, instead
Yeah.
of anime episodes are like
Right.
23, 24 minutes. That's what
Sure.
I felt like it was. We would have
But-
had way more character
Yeah.
development.
But these budgets still are way smaller than something like a Game of Thrones or that sort of thing too. I believe. I think this is a $180 million budget for the whole show, which is still quite a bit. But at the same time, it's like,
not
yeah.
CGI.
But
dragon.
yeah, it doesn't reflect the runtimes. But at the same time, there is this element of in that runtime, you still should be able to polish up a little bit more. I'm not saying hand feed the audience a explanation because most audience members don't want to be hand fed an explanation. But if there's an explanation or a thought behind a motive, it needs to be developed just a little bit more in my thought process.
Yeah, I felt like Basil's character is too underdeveloped for us to understand why he's doing certain things. If you have a Wookiee or Chewbacca do things, like we don't understand Shrewook, but we know exactly what he's saying. Like, we
Sure,
know
yeah.
character
Yeah.
talking about
He's
it.
like they're all expressive. Like they're really expressive with it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it definitely literally got lost in translation.
Yeah. There was one character in this show, in this episode, that I kind of liked. I like to hate the character, and that was Senator
Martian.
Raincourt, played by David Howard.
I love that guy.
He was great.
Was he in Arrow
Yeah.
or something like that?
He was in
Supergirl.
Supergirl. Yeah, he played
Supergirl, there you go. The
he
Martian.
played Martian Manhunter. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was good in that too. But he played this really great kind of obnoxious senator, and
I liked him.
I think there was a good purpose for that character. I kind of wished he was brought in a little earlier, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%. Hey Daniel, I'm 100%
Exactly,
with
yeah.
you. He only
What
spoke the
Daniel
truth.
said.
He was on there. The Jedi, I don't know, man. Vanessa
Right.
was messing up.
Yeah.
I feel like she should have went somewhere, but he was calling her out on all this. I don't know. I mean, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I'm a Sith all the way, but they made the Jedi's look really, really bad. Like really
yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
They-
And I think it just goes to show, though, we get this great impression as to what the Jedi were faced against with the councils and the senators, and at this time of the kind of era, it also really shows us where the Jedi became these warriors who have to be in the Senate, on the Senate's arm as they were with Palpatine, and that they have to be around in that status by the time we get to the prequels. So I kind of, I still am missing, I guess, what would be considered the book era, because I've not read them, how the Jedi should be in their purest of light. And I still I think we had the conversation last week. Had they ever been the purest of light? It's only how they perceive themselves amongst the galaxy, right?
Yeah, I think it would have been fun to see the bickering between that senator and Vernestra and come back to that frequently throughout the episodes way earlier instead of having those conversations with her and Mog or whatever that guy's name is.
Yeah.
And because I mean, it is meaningful. I mean, it does show already the separation of the Republic and the Jedi.
Right. Oh yeah.
I can't wait to see the conversation between her and Yoda, because I'm pretty sure Yoda's gonna say, he's gonna be like, fucked up you have.
See, I doubt there's little that Yoda doesn't already know. No. I think it's more of a matter of, I mean, I honestly feel that, even from the prequel era, I feel like Yoda had secrets that were under his skin that he was aware of. And I always felt that even when I watched the prequels, it's like Yoda's not quite telling the whole truth even then. He knows something deeper. He can't see it, but he knows about it. And I feel like this is where he starts learning about these moments of things, of the Sith are out there, but, they still have to tread lightly. I mean, why scare everybody? Why scare the senates of this time period? I mean, that's also kind of like a question I'd like to ask. What would that kind of fear invoke amongst senators, if any, and Jedi, if the Jedi under the Masters started learning of this stuff much earlier? There is a lot of questions in that. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's a good point. It's best not to scare the masses instead of, but it's just like, I feel like in order to combat, because it's like, you can think about it like in real life, like say if like, say aliens are real and the government is hiding the aliens from us. Yeah. They're kind of doing what Yoda's doing, but at the same time, if imagine the Sith started going rampant, how are people going to know how to combat them? Right. So I mean, I feel like you have a great point, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It's like, should you tell them or should you not? It's tough, and Yoda's only one person too, so Yoda can only do so much for sure.
Yeah, totally. So let's get to that little moment. Let's talk about this moment that I honestly didn't expect to see, and this creepy hand that comes around the corner, and we see I think we all knew exactly who it was. Oh yeah. Even if you've never read the books, I've seen the artwork from the book cover. I understand it of Darth Plagueis.
Plagueis. He looked good too. Darth Plagueis easy or bad, but he looked scary and looked good.
He looked that boy. Imagine you waking up and seeing him like by your bed doing that.
So this conversation that's been going on a little bit. From what I understand, again, I haven't read the books. He would be Plagueis is still very young in this point in time.
Yeah.
So
he looked very old.
He looked very old. So very well, they could be just rewriting the age difference and stuff like that, which makes sense. The question still to me is Plagueis the master, or is Plagueis not even a a student at this point? I assume he's the master because he's keeping an eye on his once Padawan or as apprentice, I should say. I don't know. What are your thoughts, guys?
I was wondering the same thing. Like, there's one of two options. He's either not a Sith yet and he's just quietly observing, waiting, or he's the master and he just saw his own apprentice take on an apprentice of their own.
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of
that's trouble. Interesting.
Yeah. I'm not sure either. I feel like I know Plagueis has always had this obsession with death and how to become immortal.
Sure.
So I think his main goal always was to find out to how to recreate life,
which is getting obviously from the twins. So.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure. And the thing that I'm interested in is about this vergence that they talk about. How often does it occur? that I wanted to know more about the Virgins and
Right.
and what that is, because it's like you have the twins and then you have Anakin. It's like the mother kind of manipulated it to, but the Force itself made Anakin. So I'm trying to find out, is Anakin a virgin as well, or like what's
This is I have a theory as well.
Yeah.
Like I think that it essentially they're made the same way, except with Osha and May, it was like a failure because we know that their body split into two, or like their essence essentially split into two. But with Anakin, that was like the first successful I made someone, and they were able to be one essence.
Yeah,
so kind of like how you're saying too. Is like like how like Osha made, they were kind of forced to be created.
Right.
Like they forced them to and made them and Anakin was just completely just no outside intervention.
You know what could be interesting? You know it could be interesting because the Force always wants to keep balance, right? So now that Osha is on the dark side and she's like Anakin, imagine the Force created Anakin to kind of balance the scales.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's pretty. I was just thinking about that right now. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But they both turn dark side. Isn't that funny? Huh?
But then you still have May too. So I feel like May would be Osha's equivalent. Because I feel like Osha's gone by the time that Anakin was born.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, that's the thing. Is like I'm still trying to understand what May's purpose would be.
That's what I'm saying.
This point, because apart from the fact that she's going to become the snitch for Vanestro, I guess trying to find out and remember and all this sort of stuff. I mean, again, it's like I'm guessing that there are Force skills still heavily with knowing there were dark side within May that could be brought to the surface. I'm sure that will happen. But I'm also, again, preempting on what a season 2 might be. I don't want to go there just yet, but I kind of want the Jedi to be kind of second story, and I do want the Sith to be up front and center. We saw the Jedi a lot in this season, but I understand the payoff and the pass off to what needed to be passed off, but now I want that full passing off. I want to see the Sith do their thing. I want to see them train. I want to see the temples in the universe. I want to see the trials that they would go through. One of the greatest episodes, I think, in the Clone Wars that I just loved was the episode where it's Count Dooku, and he's there and he's training Maul's brother, Asajj Press. Asajj Press, and you see Asajj Press training under Dooku, and I think Maul was there as well, and it's just this. Was Maul there? I can't remember, but it was such great intensity of just seeing Dooku train a Sith in Sith skills. It was it was on his planet, and there was all these pyramidal shapes that he had rocks that he. And it was just so cool, and I enjoyed that. I want to see more of that kind of thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm with you, Brent. I feel like they should have just. Me personally, I think they should have just killed May. I think Osha should have just stabbed her, and then they became one essence, and they go on, because now it's like she has her memory wiped. Right. She's just useless, pretty much. She's literally useless.
But then that would also mean that at that point, the versions of there just being one, like Anakin, means that would be also considered that prophecy too as a possibility. So it's a tough line of where she's going with the show.
Also, we don't know too, because what if one of them dies? Because they are the same person. So would that mean they both die? Yeah, too.
Yeah, that was my other thought too.
Prophecies misread. It could have been.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Speaking Yoda, he said it.
Excuse me. So, let's jump to the other really cool moment in this entire story that took place, and that was the moment that Osha starts force choking Saul. And using all of her anger and her, vengeance to killing her old master. And we start to see this start to happen on the crystal of the Soul Saber. That was just a moment.
That was cool.
What were your guys' thoughts of that moment?
I was like, oh shit, it's happening. live action.
The bleeding of the crystals.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's always like every time now it's always such like a crazy moment.
yeah.
Like if it's like something like in the comics,
Yeah.
like even like in
Yeah.
Jedi Survivor, you also saw that moment too. It was always super cool seeing that.
So we
It's
get
like
to see it in
live
live action.
action.
I know, yeah, because this moment when she ignites the saber on Chimera, yeah,
You start flicking that. Yeah, that was
just so awesome. I mean, it was just like it was just such a moment.
that was cool.
Dealing with some of the negativity I've seen online, unfortunately, there has been little bits and pieces. People were saying, well, if she could do that, why didn't Anakin? And it's like, there also becomes this question of a lot of us have read, whether read the books or the comics or have learned through other people about the concept of what bleeding the crystal is all about. And for those who got it, but there's also those who may not have gotten what was going on.
And also, I think people don't realize too that the Star Wars world grew exponentially after the prequels. So I don't even know if bleeding was necessarily like a thing.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, if you go back to the picture, Brent, isn't her hand actually touching the crystal? Go back to the saber. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her hand. So I mean,
correct.
Anakin's lightsaber he didn't wasn't exposed to the crystal. So
right, that is part of it. Now, here is something I did pull out. This was an interesting piece. I literally only read maybe 20 minutes before we got online. And Leslie Hedlund did a whole series of little articles here referring to that was a lightsaber's journey, my bad, bleeding of the crystal. Hedlund says, it was my dream again, talked very early with the writer's room about bleeding a lightsaber crystal. To me, it was a very intimate thing. In a weird way, it is an earned thing. I talked to Pablo Hidalgo a lot, who is the basically Lucasfilm guru of understanding how everything works in the Star Wars universe, and the fact that the crystal had to be exposed, that she can't Hulk out and do it, like we saw in Fallen Order. The crystal comes right out, so they knew they had this moment where they had to have the crystal touching the skin. To allow that to happen, but without sitting there and spending the time to take it out, pull it out, and know what's going on. And you're right, yes, we see the moment visually there that her skin right between her thumb and finger is touching the crystal there. Which
you can also see like in that picture too, like how like the vein, like the dark vein.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Bleeding into it, and it's kind of like her, like the focus point.
This stuff was thought out. I always find that if I'm watching a show, I watch a lot of, I love the Marvel content, but I'm very unfamiliar with certain characters that might get introduced or certain things. I'm the kind of person who's a big believer in, I see something, I don't quite get it, and people get excited about it. I will then want to know why. I will then go online and look up, Wikipedia or something related to that, just to understand what it is I am missing about that moment or a character or something like that. There are a lot of people that jump to conclusions and just say, well, that's so stupid. Again, this is what I've been reading recently, is like, well, Anakin didn't change his lightsaber right there and then. It was always blue. We know that for a fact because he goes around killing younglings with a blue lightsaber. And people just don't stop to take a moment to go, well, why? And if you look online, it's going to be out there, that's for sure. And I feel like that's something that people who get very angry and upset about why something doesn't work need to stop and think, go online, do a few minutes of exploratory research on their own, because the question has been dropped to you. People are excited or not excited about something. The question is why. And now I feel it's my obligation to learn why by other means rather than just them hand feeding it to me, because there's one thing I hate more that is being hand fed by verbally, by conversation in a film or a show, something step by step how it's going to work, because there's nothing more boring than that, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that, guys? Anything?
Well, like a big complaint people were saying is like how like Vader, he spent like hours like meditating, focusing his state to bleed the crystal. Like, it took him so long, but like bringing it back to Survivor, like if you guys that game where like C9 leaks like cinematics and stuff from it.
Right.
They're like when the guy, I forgot his name, but the guy from the High Republic era, when he literally comes out of the tube, that's like first thing he does. He gets his lightsaber, he instantly just takes out the crystal and just instantly bleeds it. Like, in like 2 minutes, like.
I mean, it is, at the speed and the pace of the live action episode of what you're doing or the game or whatever. It's the pace that you need to go at to move forward as well. And there are things that they realize, they have to move forward quickly here, so they're speeding up a process. And that's what I also got from something like, The Force Awakens. They sped up this process of making Rey become so powerful so quickly. Sure, they gave an answer to it. It wasn't necessarily satisfactory for me, but they did that to move the pace of the story along, rather than, take a farm boy who takes all this time and takes 3 movies to get to where he's going.
I feel like it pays off better that way, though, in my opinion.
It pays off better. And then that becomes the matter of, are we just repeating what we've seen before from a journey, or the hero's journey again, or do we speed it up to tell another story? And in this case, I felt like, they some things are sped up kind of thing, but they had to be.
Daniel makes a good point too. Like, it would stop the flow of everything if we just took a second to explain it. Like,
exactly.
Some things you just kind of have to observe and analyze.
Absolutely, yeah, no, totally. And again, that becomes part of that, where I do have patience for stuff like that. And I'm very aware if they're trying to speed something up, but I'm also aware, as I said, if I don't know what's going on, and it seems like a big crucial moment or story arc, and I will sit down afterwards and sit online and just research about that piece of information. I'm inquisitive like that. And when people aren't that inquisitive, it's when they start bitching and moaning at how much they hate something. It's like, well, you hate it because you haven't spent the time investing in learning a bit more about the event that just took place. And I feel that is, a moment there. Let's see other things that went on.
Poor Soul, RP Soul, Rip Soul.
Poor
choked the hell out of him, man.
We got a nice. Sorry.
I was gonna say, it goes back to the very first thing that Chimere said about killing a Jedi without a weapon.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
Using the Force.
Exactly. And she did. Well, actually, I'm gonna add into that even further. I think it was actually extremely cool, because the fact is that Jedi aren't going to be necessarily, at least, younglings and Padawans and even maybe Jedi Knights are probably not going to be taught how to Force choke or even defend against a Force choke. That is a dark side kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
especially believing that they're extinct and like they're not around this time. Like,
exactly.
Why would they be prepared for that?
I would imagine that the Jedi Masters have got that knowledge and will pass that information down, how to defend against things like Force choking and all that. But it's definitely not something you'd teach your teacher. I mean, heck, they even said in this episode that Chimera was the one who ditched out on her on his master when he was when he was younger.
Right.
And it's like, you wouldn't want somebody turning dark or evil or leaving the Jedi Order with that kind of knowledge, how to Force choke somebody. So you would never teach someone that young, or I doubt you would want to teach somebody that young how to do that. So we got that moment of when May learned how to do it naturally by herself. That was that pivotal moment that Chimera was looking for, which was how to kill a Jedi without striking them down, which is obviously Force choking them.
Right.
But
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, to become a Sith or become a dark side element, you would have to learn that as part of your final lesson, is what I got from that moment. That was her final lesson, along with bleeding the saber. So.
I mean, because it's happened at the same time. Like, her doing that, initiating that, was the thing that caused her to bleed the saber and complete her transformation to a Sith.
Absolutely.
And it was cool because there's like also a little bit of a moment of disbelief because she hasn't put her hand up yet, and he's already starting to choke, and you're like, is this May? Is this Chimera? And then she puts it up, and like.
But even better, you think about Anakin Skywalker when he first turns and gives his allegiance to Palpatine. Like, he breaks down and it's like, you know, there's this little moment of what have I done when he kills
Stop talking.
Mace Windu, yeah.
Throws him out the window.
And there's this moment of realization of this is who I am now. And we got that exact same, and I love the dynamic like similarities from from Osha doing that moment too.
And two, a thing that I thought was kind of morbid is going back to episode 3. Soul kneels down to Osha and gives her his lightsaber to show her, and here he's forced down to his knees with her.
Yes, yeah,
I know poetry. Huh?
Yeah, and Ryan's is like the symbolization and everything. Yeah, but that also leads to me to say that although there were little things that didn't work or were kind of not nicely tied in, there was so much stuff that was well thought out in this show, and they spent plenty of time thinking about this stuff. Some of it just may not have got through because of because of edit and timing and whatever it may be, or to move the pacing along. We don't know the full story about why things don't always work. It's because it's definitely not a bad show. I think it's a very wonderful show. At the end of the day, yeah,
I agree. Like everything we've seen so far, even to like Mando's last season, there's good things and there's bad things.
Oh, totally, yeah. To have a show that's completely perfect all the way through would be boring after a while.
Honestly, I think for sure Leslie Handlin did play a part of this the stuff before the show even came out. Just the stuff that was going on between different communities going on and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
I feel like that automatically like set a tone, and a lot of people were already waiting to be hating on the show and this and that.
Sure. Yeah. Totally.
I think if nobody would have said, if Leslie would have never said anything about certain communities and stuff like that, I think if everybody just went in here without none of that negativity in the beginning, it would have been a lot different overall, in my opinion.
Possibly.
Well,
again, it's Sorry, Julie.
I was gonna say I feel like it's a bit of a House of the Dragon situation because I feel like just the fact that she's a woman, anyways, is already gonna start problems right off the bat.
Oh,
and
you're
there's
right.
nothing that they can do about it.
Yeah.
Also, I had no idea that Leslie was married to the actress that plays Vernestra Rowe.
Yeah.
Oh wait, oh really?
Yeah, they're married.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh my god! Wow, you learned something new every day. I was actually not. I knew she was married, but I didn't realize it was.
She's married to Vanessa.
No way! Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even click because I've seen photos of them together as a married couple. But that's funny. Oh wow. Okay.
I thought they were like just partners. I didn't know that they were like married.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A couple of other things I wanted to take note of. I did like the little moment here where we learn how May actually survived, where she fell down and was sucked into the ventilation shaft. Because of course we've seen that before. Again, it's we saw Luke go down in Empire Strikes Back, and I thought, okay, it's completely plausible. I am completely fine with the way they survived. But I'm glad they did answer it, because that was one of the big lingering questions. How did she survive? And I thought, okay, I'm not even a thought. I was like, I'm satisfied. I'm set with that answer.
I mean, it wasn't a big old like kind of thing that everyone was thinking it was going to be, but it still was like, okay,
yeah,
makes sense.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be some crazy big old like, someone came in out of nowhere to save her. Like,
no, you're right. Yeah,
simple.
There's a thing that Lando says in Solo. He's like, I don't like it, I don't agree with it, but I respect it, because they did it.
Yes.
So it's like you can't say anything.
Yeah. And Osha was like, you did all this when you were a kid? Dang. They're going there walking through the tunnel. I was like, yeah.
Yep. The other stuff I want to go through. Let's talk about Vanessa a little bit at the end here. Obviously, we had this.
I hated it.
This great little speech that she gives that overlays all these images, including this, which obviously is very representation of what the Jedi do in Funeral Pyre, and we see Luke do it with Vader and everything. Vanessa loved who Soul was, and it's interesting that she just had to use him as the scapegoat. Yeah, under the bus, the scapegoat, everything. And
Horrible.
I thought that was, it was surprisingly the direction it had to go because they hinted at it last episode. But man, I mean, imagine having to put down somebody had, especially since she knew at that point that Chimera was in the room at the time,
That's what I'm
obviously.
saying.
And she's now keeping her secret, and she's fallen into the same trap that the four Jedi did, make 16 years earlier, where she's now creating her own secrets. That's why more so at the end there, this whole conversation with Yoda is like, Yoda probably knows all this shit. He knows everything, especially when it comes to her. He wouldn't know every single Jedi's, fault or whatever, but she's kind of up there, it seems, in connection with Yoda. So
I don't
she's pretty old.
like it.
She's
Yeah, she played my boy Soul dirty, man. I love
Yeah.
Soul.
Yeah.
I thought Soul was I don't know. I'm pretty sure you guys caught it, but when Soul was like, I love, he almost said love.
you love, yeah,
And I think that, oh man, that's just so great
Yeah.
for a Jedi to feel that. Like
Yeah.
that's how I feel like with enough time, Qui-Gon would have felt that same way with Anakin.
yes, yeah,
And I just think that Soul really loved them, and
Yeah.
for her to like tarnish, because honestly, like
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, if I was Soul, I would have did the same thing. He reacted to how he killed the mother. Like she
Oh.
literally turned into a
Yeah.
freaking demon, bro.
yeah.
I would have, if
Yeah.
you seen that. I mean, honestly, if you had a lightsaber, if you had the Force, wouldn't you have done the same thing?
Which is also interesting because Jedi are not supposed to act out of fear.
He
Because
reacted
that's-
though.
But he reacted exactly. So that also becomes that thing is, how much
discipline.
we got love coming from Soul. We love for an individual, not for like in a daughter sense of love.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to technically have that. A Jedi shall not know fear, anger, or love. And Soul kind of had
all three.
all three of those throughout the course of the show. So Soul wasn't evil. He wasn't heading towards the dark side, but he didn't have control of those emotions. That also sets in tone why those elements were changed by the time we got to the prequels, and what we learned to understand that the Jedi are all about is because they need to separate the attachments completely. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like they're humans. It just
Yeah.
shows that the
Yeah,
whole
human.
ideology of the Jedi it can never work.
Yeah, it's too
Yeah.
monk mode. It's too monk mode. It's like that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
But you
Emotions
also
are-
could, But you also
Go
got to consider. You got to consider also that Qui-Gon Jinn kind of was going. He was in the same direction. He's he had this emotional thing of he really had this emotional connection to Anakin being the chosen one.
That's what I'm saying.
And
Well, just also in general
that's what-
too, because like
Yeah,
that's like the entire reason he wasn't on the council. It's because he
Yeah.
showed he
He
played
was-
with his emotions.
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
like,
Obi-Wan said that. Yeah,
Yeah, like I
Oh,
said,
yeah, it's like
like I said earlier, I was like, given enough time, if he would have never died to Maul, he would given enough time, he would have had that same attachment towards Anakin because he would have trained Anakin,
Oh,
and then they
absolutely.
would have been like a father and son, and Obi-Wan would have been like, I mean, Obi-Wan was a brother.
yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's
It's kind of
People-
what they said multiple times. He needed a father, not a brother, and Obi-Wan
Yeah.
was more of a brother than a
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if Qui-Gon had lived, there's a lot of people that say that he would have gone the same route as Count Dooku, in the same route of Dooku's thinking, not necessarily dark side, but the actual idea of what Dooku had his beliefs in. Was Dooku was a very interesting character too.
I loved
As we got into more depth on the information about what his thought process was.
Was it Tale to the Jedi? I believe it was Tale
Yeah,
to the Jedi.
that was so.
I
Oh my
loved
god, it
when
was
he-
so good.
When he found out that he died, and then he was at the tree where he was like, "This is Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
This is Qui-Gon's
Yeah.
favorite spot."
Yes.
Oh man, I was just like, "That's fire, so
Yeah.
fire."
Totally. We'll start to wrap this up a little bit here, guys. Last thing I wanted to mention, or not last thing, but I did want to mention how freaking wonderful the production quality, production design in this show, costume design in this show. everything from the fight choreography, all that sort of stuff was just fantastic in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The locations were also amazing too. I love
Yeah,
those.
they didn't do it at the volume, did they? No, huh?
Huh? No, they did. They shot all this over in was it Scotland or England? No, I can't remember which one it was. Oh, wait, was it Scotland or England? It was, yeah.
That's good.
They shot all
I
over the
don't know.
place.
You can
Yeah.
tell. No, you can tell. Look,
I don't think it was
look-
England.
Yeah,
You look,
it
nice
might have been Scotland. I'm not sure if Ireland was any part of it or
I
not.
think the northern, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm gonna put up there a final note here that I pulled out from the extractions of Leslie Headland, referring to Fixed Point of the Future. We know where this is heading. Shifting gears from one of the more popular questions I got to ask from Twitter is fans need to know if there's going to be a season 2, and she basically says. Truly, an online support and love can send the show. It's a little tricky because the way the internet works, but you're enjoying the show. You want to see more. Any support that you can and give on social media platforms would be super helpful. Sending love to the cast, the actors as well. You saw what happened when Hayden Christensen went through back in the prequels, and now how much love he's getting from that same audience, the younger audience who follow him. But for now, give love for enjoyment of the performances. So, yeah, I mean, basically, if you enjoy this, keep on, on Twitter, whatever you're doing, renew the Acolyte is a thing right now. Just making sure that Lucas, and tag Lucasfilm and tag Disney Plus. It's like, that's the kind of stuff you want to do to keep showing interest in it. Obviously, keep watching it. Watch it a couple of weeks from now. Let it play in the background. I want to sit down and just watch this entire show from beginning to end. Again, just now that it's all dropped, and just to watch it. Not to see if I've really missed anything, because I think I've pretty much got everything there. I just want to see how it flows as an overall story when I don't have to pause a week between episodes.
Yeah, that's like my biggest fear, is because how much negative attention this show has been. It's especially all the stuff that we have setting up. Like, we might not get a season 2, which because I'm very interested in seeing that season 2. Like something like it looks like it's gonna be more Osha and Kimir, and they're being now hunted by Vinestrum.
Yeah, and the reality is. If we don't get a season 2, it's going to be done in comic book form. It's going to be done in book form or game or so. There's going to be something out there. But I really would love to see a live action, season 2. My opinion. Any other thoughts?
I was going to say something. I totally lost my train.
I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
I mean. I would hope.
Whatever.
I would hope they get a season 2. But me personally, I mean. I don't want to be negative, but I don't think they're going to get it. But, I mean, it would be nice. And if they did, I would want more of the Sith, more of Kimir, more of the training.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. What, Julie, before it goes away, what is it?
I was going to say, season 2, too, I also wouldn't mind the twins stepping away from the spotlight and kind of focusing on other aspects of the show that they were starting to introduce at the finale as well.
Right. Yeah.
I felt like for me, they weren't even the protagonist for me. Osha wasn't the protagonist. Me, I didn't like Osha. I'm not gonna. You guys already.
I didn't like her either.
Kimir is, but I told you guys this in the beginning when I met you guys. I was like, I'm more of a Sith. I'm more of a Sith. So as soon as Kimir came popping out, I was like, yo.
Maybe Osha will become this new interesting character.
It's more definitely the more pillars of the show were definitely Saul and Kimir.
Hey, if Osha starts,
how they're going to transition from this.
If Osha starts force choking villages and wiping them out, then I'm going Team Osha, baby.
They gave her a glorified ending for the kind of nothingness she did throughout this season. They really
I want to see more. I mean, I want to see more now. I feel like she didn't do anything. That's why I was so mad about her character. Yeah. But I feel like May did way more throughout the whole season. But I would like to see her training, and I would like to see. It's usually the more passive ones that don't like to fight. But are the ones that actually could fight way better than the people that's always trying to fight.
Yeah.
That's usually how it is. So I mean, I see that aspect.
Yeah. I mean, I also look at this as because Leslie Headland has got 3 or 4 seasons in her head, I see this as just a chapter 1 anyway. The chapter 1 is introducing the world, the characters, and she introduced the world very well. I like the world that she introduced. The characters, a lot of the characters I enjoyed. There was a couple that bugged me a little bit. I'm not sure what's his name. The
Basil.
No, Basil annoyed me.
Mog?
After Mog.
Who's Mog?
Mog was was Venestra's apprentice there. That
Oh
was,
yeah,
I'm
I
trying
don't
to.
even know his name.
Yeah, there was such an ignorance of someone who's so old at that point that it seemed like she was just dealing with a child. And I don't know if that's his representation of the Jedi at this point in time of the Republic, of what's existing. But I kind of, I found him a bit annoying. The attitude a bit annoying, not the actor as much as the attitude of why is he there under the leadership of someone who has been around for a very long time, and all that. But anyway, there's that thought. Any other last thoughts, guys?
I was gonna say I do agree with what Leslie was saying. I feel like a lot of people are hating on it, and a lot of people are. I mean, I don't think people should hate the It's like what she said about Hayden, like how everybody hated Hayden, but it's just at that time because I grew up watching the prequels, the prequels, not the originals.
You were a kid.
Yeah, I was a kid. So now that we've grown up, now that the kids that watched Hayden, we're growing up. Now we're showing the love for maybe the younger generation that watched Disney Star Wars will be showing the love years from now. Type. So.
Yeah. I'm always going to say this. George Lucas has always said this, and I'm going to say it as well. George Lucas created Star Wars for kids, or the child at heart. And as I've gotten older, I've remained that child at heart. At least I like to think so. You guys were the kids when the prequels came out. I was the kid when the original films came out. And it has been fun to watch the younger and the next generation grow up. I know my young, 12-year-old niece and nephew, they were a little younger than that when they watched the sequels, and Rey is their generation. Mm-hmm. And what the hate might have been towards the sequels, or what the hate might have been towards the prequels, has totally passed those kids, because they are the ones who are going to grow up to be, your age, and be like
the ones that
appreciative.
Vocalizing it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because I for sure vocalized my love for the prequels.
And it shows the impact of what Star Wars means to you as a child, and how much it actually says something and tells you something. And sure, we can sit there and we can argue, what works technically, what doesn't work technically. But at the end of the day, you still need to step back and go, these shows are for kids and child at heart. And if you're an adult and you're making a big issue about these series and these movies, you need to step back and kind of question, why are you making that? It's not for you, it's for the kids. That's my opinion at the end of the day.
Yeah, each generation has their own Star Wars and their own version of it.
Absolutely. And again, I don't always agree with everything, but at the same time, I understand it. I understand there's a process that gets thought out. So
you kind of already seen some of what you're saying, like how when they announced it, at celebrations, when they announced the Rey movie, everyone was like, "Oh, it's a good thing."
Yeah. Well, that is it for the Acolyte. I guess our next show, if you guys are down for it, the next show that we'll probably end up by watching and do this kind of roundtable on, I kind of want to do the animated Lego, because we're going to get a mixed batch of Lego animation Star Wars coming out.
When is that?
That's coming out September. I want to say it was September.
I'm down.
But,
I'm down.
Huh? But
let's go.
I some of the stuff I've enjoyed actually is the non-canon stuff, which is the Lego animated stuff. Did any of you watch the Freemaker Adventures?
Yes,
Nah.
yes, I did.
If you have, they did 2 seasons. If they did 2 seasons of a show, actually 3.5 technically, of the Freemaker Adventures, and at the beginning I thought it was a little silly, But then the more I was observing the story, it was like, this story takes place between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And oh my God, it was so well thought out. It was great.
Was really good.
Yeah.
There's just a little kind of side thing there. Like, it was a good story.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, Angela?
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, I mean, that's like the main factor also for me, like being in Star Wars is definitely the Lego stuff. Like,
yeah,
I love the Lego stuff.
And they had some cool specials, and this one, this next one looks fun. Come on, they introduced.
Right here on my desk, I got the Clone Wars Lego game just right here.
I love the Lego games for sure.
Yeah. But the other cool thing is, like, this one's going to introduce Darth Jar Jar. Basically, the universe, the galaxy gets split apart and rebuilt back together again.
Oh, it's like
everything's all different.
Thing, huh?
Yeah, which that's why and it's like Darth Jar Jar. I'm just like, I need to see.
We're getting Jedi Darth Vader too. Darth Vader.
Really? That's going to be cool. Yeah.
I think it'd be just fun. And then, of course, Skeleton Crew will be towards the end of the year as well. But the other thing we were talking about, and if you guys are down for it, and if anybody out there is interested in watching it, I want to kind of sit down and go in chronological order of the movies and the shows as a series, not each individual episode. But I want to start with, like, episode 1. Because we've just done, obviously, the Acolyte at this point. The next step is episode 1, really. And then we'll go episode 2. Then we'll just talk about the Clone Wars. And maybe once a month we get together and have a good, hour and a half long discussion about what we thought. We're all relatively new to each other's, understanding of what we love and enjoy. But I've enjoyed this moment. So if you guys, and maybe we'll get a few more people in as well, just to sit there and talk about... what worked in a show, what worked in a movie, what didn't work, what things, inspired us from all this. That'd be kind of a fun discussion, and do a small roundtable and just go make our way right through to the Rise of Skywalker, I guess, and then eventually Rey, because that'll be a year and a bit down the track. But if you guys are down for it, and if if everyone out there is interested, let us know. I think we would maybe next month we'll try episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and do a definite discussion and go from there.
Yeah, get it.
Guys, the three of you, and Daniel out there, of course, as well, it's been a pleasure. Like 7 weeks ago, we had no idea who any of us were, and we met in line at the Acolyte, screening that we were all, managed to get ourselves tickets to, and became this instant, like, cool karma group of people. I've been thoroughly enjoyed hanging out with you guys. And
we got to
stay
Julie.
in touch. Yeah. No,
without Julie, I would have never even went, or I didn't even know anything about it. So Julie was like, hey, you want to come?
Without you guys, I wouldn't have been able to hold my place in line to actually...
I
would have to go to the back of the line. Levi, other guy who was coming, was But at the same time, it's just like, it's been fun. Hopefully everybody out there has, enjoyed at least our talking and our reactions and our thought process behind the Acolyte. And please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we shall catch you on the next one. We'll just keep an eye out and we'll keep you posted. Catch you later, guys. Thank you.
Bye, Cave. Bye, guys.